doing? Start off, certainly talk about Kansas State. It was a great team win. Thought we played well in all three phases. Feels great to be 2-0. Certainly would like to thank the Mississippi State fans who made the trip out there and gave us some great support there on the road. First road win against a Power 5 non-conference team since 1995. Certainly have the utmost respect for Coach Snyder and his program and the thing that he's built there. So to have a win against such a great team and great program meant a lot to us as a team. I've been pleased with our productivity, our scoring offense and scoring defense, doing a real good job there. Happy with our kickoff return unit and the two biggest factors that we believe determine the outcome of games, explosive play margin and turnover margin. I think we're doing a really good job there. Would like to be creating a couple more turnovers defensively, but I think we're on the right path. And certainly doing a real good job with third down conversion percentage and red zone offense and red zone defense. So certainly pleased there. Still plenty to address and clean up moving forward. Certainly the penalties in this game were too many, 11. So we're going to address that and get that cleaned up. Had some substitution errors on offense and defense and special teams that caused us to burn some timeouts that would have been helpful to have later in the game, should have been closer. And then the biggest thing is, playing within the system. And I think that's something in all three phases that we need to continue to address and work on, and continually harping to our guys that we don't need them to do anything extraordinary, but they need to do the ordinary things extraordinarily well, and that they don't need to, quote unquote, make a play. They can do that within the structure of our system. And to me, making a play is knowing your assignment, playing with fanatical effort, and executing with surgical precision. So we got to continue to do that better moving forward. And I think as the execution continues to improve, our productivity will. Our players of the week for Kansas State are selected by the Mississippi State coaching staff. On offense, Kylan Hill. On defense, Errol Thompson. On special teams, Alec Murphy. In addition to Kylan Hill being named the offensive SEC player of the week, and Montez Sweat being named the SEC defensive lineman of the week. Our scout team players of the week, those guys don't get a lot of credit or fanfare, but do a great service to our team. Everybody knowing their role and contributing in a positive manner. Offensively, running back Robert Rivers. Defensively, defensive lineman Fabian Lovett. And then for special teams, RJ Jennings. Our student athletes of the week, as selected by our academic support staff, were freshmen Nathaniel Watson and Devonta Jason. So very excited about those guys getting it done in the classroom. On an injury front, we'll start to do this on a weekly basis. Think it's probably better for me to address it than for you guys to have to ask and me not have it ready. Jesse Jackson is day-to-day with an upper body. Jamal Peters is day-to-day with an upper body. And then Marlon Reese is day-to-day with an upper body. All right. Okay, moving on to Louisiana, led by first-year head coach Billy Napier. Came from Arizona State, has experience in the SEC at Alabama, and also spent some time at Clemson. They won their Week 1 game against Grambling 49-17 and are coming off of a bye week. So certainly have had time to prepare. I'm expecting a great game from them. Offensively, they're another spread team, major in 11 personnel. They do a real good job stretching the field horizontally and creating matchup problems and using space to their advantage. We feel their best players are the quarterback, Andrew Nunez, and if you look at his game against Grambling, did a fantastic job, completed 19 of his final 20 attempts for 184 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 on the ground. Broke the school single-game record for completion percentage at 86%, so certainly that's a very high percentage. The running back, Trey Ragus, 142 yards, 1 touchdown in the opener, third-team All-Sunbelt last year. And they have a very, very good and experienced receiver core. We believe that's led by wide receiver Jamarcus Bradley. Honorable mention All-Sunbelt last year. Started all 12 games and had 2 touchdown catches in the opener. 4 stars returning on the O-line. A very experienced offensive unit. And to be able to put up 49 points against anyone at this level was very impressive. And certainly with the extra time to prepare, we feel we're going to have to really defend the whole field against these guys. Major in the inside zone. Do a lot of things with motion, some unbalanced stuff that really forces you to play with great gap integrity and great eye discipline because they challenge you from a presentation standpoint and really force you to be disciplined on defense. Defensively, they're a multiple 3-4 play with, 3 down linemen, kind of a rush end, who will line, to the field or to the boundary, play a variety of coverages. We feel their best players on that side of the ball are number 98, defensive tackle, number 38, the linebacker, and number 6, the safety. And certainly they do some very good things on special teams as well. The top players are number 43, Jordan, I want to pronounce this, Quibido. He's our most disruptive player on kickoff. And they've got an LSU transfer at kicker, made 7 of 7 PATs last week, and then did a real good job in the return game as well. So that's certainly something that we're going to have to be prepared to face, and they're going to do a great job there. Keys to victory, as always, will be how well we prepare, how hard we play, and how well we execute. And certainly going to go this week one at a time at a championship standard and everything that we do on and off the field. And excited to be back home in the friendly confines of Davis Wade Stadium. Excited to hear more cowbells. Excited to keep this thing moving forward in a positive direction. That being said, as Bill said, I will take questions.
One more quick personnel thing. I don't remember Aris getting a snap at running back last week. Was there a reason for that?
Yeah, he did not get a snap. I actually just got done meeting with Aries. On this situation, but kind of in general, from a broad strokes perspective, playing time on Saturday is dictated by really your performance during the week and accountability and all those things. And based on this week's body of work, we felt it was Colin and Nick Gibson, who did the best job and deserved the repetitions on the field. So talked with Aries. We're going to get rolling again on Tuesday. I expect him to have a great week and be getting a good amount of snaps and kind of contributing in a positive manner. Love him, great kid, and he's going to have a great season moving forward.
To follow up on something you said about kind of staying within the system and you don't have to really stretch to make plays within it. I mean, do you see that kind of desire affecting the team right now, and how do you kind of coach that out of them?
No, I don't think it's the term that I've been using, or we've been using as a staff, is controlled aggression. And we want to make sure that we don't our competitiveness and desire and how hard we play. That's definitely one of our strengths, but once you go outside of the system and try to do things that you're not assigned to do, it's a little bit of fool's gold where you do it and make a play and it looks good, but at a certain point during the year against a certain opponent where you're going to need it, you're going to fall back on that. So we don't want to positively reinforce things that are done incorrectly from a schematic standpoint when a positive outcome occurs. We want to make sure that we're doing all the things that are necessary and we're paying great attention to detail.
Coach, 2 weeks, 2 different starting quarterbacks, kind of a first start for both of them. Completion percentage, obviously not your target area. Has there been any consistency with what you've seen on film from the 2 guys?
Consistency? I think there's been a consistency from a productivity standpoint. First week we had 7 touchdowns from the quarterback position. This week, 150 yards rushing, threw for 2. Certainly, we need to, like I said, increase our efficiency while maintaining our productivity. And I think that may be, partly schematic, that we are attempting to push the ball downfield more. And I think some of the things you saw were him throwing it to the right receiver and us just not. And a lot of things go into completion percentage, protection, the route, the read, and the throw. So certainly I think that both Nick and KT have made positive steps forward with what we want them to do from the quarterback position. But we do need to be completing passes at a higher percentage.
Kind of going off what Steve said a little bit just with the offense, is this about the run-pass balance that you expected at this point, or do you feel a little run-heavy at this point, or quarterback runs? How do you feel about kind of balance so far?
I usually don't. I don't start looking at self-scout generally till about 3 games in. I would guess probably we're a little bit run-heavy right now. You would like to be as close to 50-50 as we can. And then I think some of the things are calls versus run or pass, because there's some things we do where it's a run call, but based on the defender, the ball gets passed. So we kind of self-scout that more on the call than the actual execution of the play. So to me, it's more about the calls than the actual is it run or is it pass, because if teams continue to play heavy run support and get people in the box, the ball's going to get thrown in an RPO system. So to me, it's more about calls than it is actual runs or passes.
Going back to the completion percentage, as far as reaching your benchmark goes, 65%, is that something that you think is going to have to happen gradually, or every time you go out there on Saturday, do you think that he can hit 65%?
Yeah, and I use that as a benchmark, and we've hit it pretty consistently over the past however many years since 2012. And certainly you look at Trace's first year in this system, he hit 56%, he didn't reach the 65. But what I don't want to do is get caught up in the number that it needs to be 65 at the expense of our productivity and putting points on the board. So ultimately, when you're looking at statistics from that point, Tyler, I think number one is the wins, to make sure that we're still, doing what's necessary offensively and from the quarterback position to, continue to win games. And then two, it's productivity. So if we're going to average 47 and, he may be a little bit more run heavy and we're hitting, low 50s or high 50s and still putting points on the board, I think we'll sacrifice a little bit of the completion percentage for productivity from a scoring and a winning standpoint. But certainly the higher rate we can complete passes, I think the better off we'll be.
Where is Wop as far as, I know he got injured late in training camp, where is he and where do you see him moving forward in the rotation?
Yeah, he's battling for reps at the X position. And, Steven's obviously, taking the starter's role over there. And Osiris at the Z possession. And Jesse's a guy who had started, the past year and has a lot of good experience. So he's a guy I think I refer to kind of like a Swiss Army knife where he may not be the starter, but he can go in at all three positions. And certainly we like Wop. We like his potential. I think he's got a very, very bright future. And he's in the mix for playing time at the X position.
Another question, with Jonathan having to sit out the first half, is that where Chris Rayford maybe fills in or another guy?
Yeah, it'll be Chris and CJ. Those guys both play. And, we just got to do a good job picking up the slack. And those guys will, hey, next man in. And so we'll do a great job in the first half with the guys who go in and play that position.
Coach, you mentioned cleaning up the penalties in practice. Does that just come with more reps, just going over something time after time, or how do you see that moving forward?
Yeah, I think that there's a certain amount of penalties that are going to occur during the course of the game. You're going to get a hold, you're going to get some kind of defensive penalty, but to me, it's the ones that are manageable from a coaching standpoint or manageable from a player simple execution standpoint. So to have to burn a timeout because you don't have enough guys on the field for PAT field goal, which we would have, but taking the penalty actually set up a better angle for the kick. So that was offense by accident there. But, defensively, when we're trying to sub in a nickel package or a dime package and we don't have the right people on the field, those are the things. We got to eliminate those ones. Some other penalties are going to happen during the course of the game, but those are the ones that are 100% avoidable. And, the thumb's on me. It's my responsibility and got to get it cleaned up.
Hey, Coach. Chris
Hello.
Bolton, WCI News.
How's it going?
All right.
Great.
A lot has been made about the rushing attack and everything. I was just wanting to hear from you about how you feel the receiver group is doing, just with creating separation off of routes and everything.
Yeah, I think the receiver group's playing well. I mean, you look at the game and, Steven had 2 catches, and both were explosive plays. One on a very, very critical third down and long where he caught it and ran. And I think that was actually the play that kind of got us sparked to move. And then he had another explosive play, from backed up, that got us out of, the shadow of our own goalposts. But you look across the line, Osiris didn't have as many opportunities this week, but did have, 2 big ones last week. Austin with his first career touchdown reception. Dedrick and Mixon, in the mix at slot. And then certainly Steven and Guidry Steven and, Jesse and Watt, working. So I think, as, we continue to grow in this offense and, going back, and it is, a little bit of Nick, shaking the rust off where he almost hasn't played in the game live for an entire year in a new system.